What's up, guys? It's John here, and with temporarily the Sports Entertainment of America. And I went with that name because I think it's relevant, and I see myself putting out this content for a little bit. So I figured I would go with this name. But please let me know in the comments if you think I should stick with In Plain Sight, or if this name you think is better. I think SEA rolls off the tongue. And like I said, I think it's extremely fitting as a wrestling fan. I definitely think it's sports entertainment. But yeah, so I wanted to go into two things here. It's going to be our first bet for Sunday, because a few people have requested picks, and one individual, and I'll show them in a second, requested this game specifically with similar logic that I always adopt when picking teams, which is just when lines don't look to really make sense. So this is right here is going to be, I had a video right before this predicting that first that the Cowboys were going to tie the game, and then that CD was going to march down the field and be a big player in the fourth quarter. And the reason, you can watch that video if you want, but the reason I made that video, and I did it when it was going on, was because I could just see where it was going. So they tied it up. And of course, so this is what happened earlier in the game. CD gets easily past the secondary, and there's the drop. And I think the safety let this happen. He's just not even near him, not in a zone that he should be in there. And I just thought, again, it's odd. And then here's what was more odd, like this smile here, and he's just like acknowledging that he dropped the ball, which I get. But you're not, I'm trying to get a good picture of it, but yeah, you're not having that kind of grin on your face after dropping a very important touchdown against a team that you need to beat. So, and then he patted his chest, basically saying, I'm getting that back. The announcers then, of course, painted the narrative that he was going to make up for it. He'd like to have that one back. And then, of course, as I thought, after a ridiculous drive, after a ridiculous drive, he just caps it off. With this routine-looking play that always, if you notice, these fades that they run on the corner, they are always caught almost every time. You would think the defensive back would know that's the only route they're going to be running in that position, but every time they just get mossed, kind of. But here's Lamb, and again, we picked this game, so I'm happy to see that. It's just, again, brings me back to my point. It's all about narratives. So the narrative there was CeeDee Lamb was going to come back and get a ridiculous play and a ridiculous drive to cap off the game after the drop that he apparently knew he was going to atone for. And then another thing I thought was interesting here is the reason I'm going to show you the pick that I had just picked, the Chargers here -5, and Eric Roberts had pointed that out. And it is interesting because I do think that, looking at how the Texans played, and even with the Chargers injuries, it's a trap line. So, real quick, that one I actually already picked. I meant to pick it here, but what we're doing is we're betting to win 25, and we're doing the Texans +5, because I think most people are just going to pick the Chargers. So I agree with Eric there with his assessment. And so 28 to win 25. I looked at the spreads and the lines against the spread on the year. To me, it makes sense. The Texans cover the 5. And then another interesting comment here was by 8-17 squeeze. Cowboys are not winning. Cowboys equals 30. The Giants are going 3-0. Learn gematria. And actually, I have to give him a lot of credit because he was right on the nose. He really was. Because while the Cowboys did win, he wasn't wrong about the gematria. So what happened was at the very end of the game, they commented about how Cameron Rush he's now 3-0 as a starting quarterback. So I just thought it was very interesting. So I want to give Squeeze credit for calling that, because gematria is real. It was just like I was explaining. It's very, very coded, and there's many ways you can take gematria. Like, you could also take it as Ezekiel Elliott's 21, and thanks to him, both teams are 2-1. There's a lot of things I noticed. Oh yeah, and I saved this to my photos because I thought it was interesting. This is like, remember they said they have to put everything in your face, right? Well, here's these two with 729. So he had the game-winning interception. McKinney played a big role because he's the one who allowed Lamb to burn him and run down the field on that drive. Backwards, that's 9/27, which was the date they played this game. So, you see these things all the time, which, again, that's why I originally chose In Plain Sight for my name. But you guys can let me know what you think of that in the comments. But that's basically what I wanted to do, is go into just our Week 4 first leg of our first bet, which is going to be the Texans +5 at home. And you can see with that win, the 25 and the 28, we'll be around 350, a little shy of that, but about 330. And I also wanted to go into the commenters for correctly pointing out the gematria. And for this pick here, I think Eric is on the nose. But yeah, you can see the narratives. Buck and Aikman are some of the worst offenders. It's very obvious when they're just basically trying to scream a narrative home, whether it's Saquon Barkley looking like his old self, or Rush doing well as a backup, and then the most obvious was how CeeDee Lamb felt like a dog after that drop and was going to make up for it. But yeah, please let me know. This is just kind of like a vibe-in video. Like, we don't have many outstanding wagers. We only have the one we just placed, and it's not really a deep dive. I just kind of wanted to recap tonight's game, technically last night's game, that drive specifically, as well as the video I had put out before, as well as go into just, again, the anomalies that we see on a weekly basis. So yeah, just let me know if there's anything. I always say this, but if there is, I do appreciate the people that comment, because if you want a specific thing covered, I will make a video for it. Whether it's a deep dive on a game from 10 years ago, I don't care. But I've been trying to get the ones at least pertaining to wagers out, because that one people can at least start profiting too. So take care, everybody, and happy earnings. And again, let me know in the comments if you prefer In Plain Sight, or if you think the Sports Entertainment of America is a little more fitting. Take care.